that's Hey everybody. I just want to do a quick video and talk about why I chose Ubuntu as my Linux distribution for my dev laptop setup. Because I've talked about using old tech and the fact I'm using Linux, but I didn't explain, a little bit of my reasoning behind what version I'd use. Now, through the many years I've used Linux back since 1995, I believe it was. I've used a few different versions, but they've always really been based around either the Slackware repository or Debian. Now, I say Debian, to be fairly honest, I've only ever used a couple of actual derivatives from the Debian branch, which is Ubuntu and I think the main Debian branch, I think, was the only other one. Whereas with Slackware, or originated from Slackware, I've used obviously Slackware, and then the RPM versions like Red Hat, SUSE. I think I've used Arch as well, but I've used a few different versions, but it's really been mainly around those two. Now, the main reason I went to use Ubuntu this time is because the previous role I did in a development company gave us laptops with Ubuntu on, and I hadn't used Ubuntu for a number of years prior to this, so I was really surprised at how well it ran and ran the development tools. So that kind of was the original kind of coming off that company, having used Ubuntu. That was kind of the first driver, of course. But yeah, I mean, other reasons is things like they've got a really good package management tool. So if you want to install something, the tool really is really helpful. And it's any one of them. I think most of them are easily installed today, but it's quite an easy install. I also like the fact that with a lot of Linux you can just su to root, and I like the sort of security of not being able to do that. You have to sudo the command to actually get it to run a root command, which means yes, you are. It's a simple thing to run it as root, but you're not actually always in root, and it's very easy when you're in root to kind of forget that you're in root and then accidentally delete the entire operating system, as an example. The other thing is it's got a really good hardware coverage, so you can see this laptop here is a slightly older one. It's a 6th gen i5. It's got 6 GB RAM, and it's even though this is version 22, it's got a really good kind of coverage of hardware, which is really good. And I think I've said the fact that the tools are running it, they're kind of most of them, if not all of them, have support for Ubuntu. So that was really useful because obviously you want to be able to install the tools that you want to use. And some of those have come from the actual software support tool within Ubuntu, and some of them have just been distributions I've done them from the site, and then you can install using that tool. It's really a popular Linux, which means there's lots of developers out there developing tools for it. And it also means that when you have a question, because a lot of people are using it, there's a lot of how-tos on the web to basically fix any of the issues that I've ever found anyway. So it's really good in that sense that you've got that support there. And I think that, in regards to the support, they're always releasing updates. Both the apps for the developers running apps are releasing updates, and the actual OS itself have got many updates. So it's always really being kept up to date and running and nice. And so it's always really good to have that. And it's also got a really good release cycle. I think I've read that it's roughly every couple of years, they release a kind of a stable LTS base. So it's really good to have that. And obviously there are other reasons why I've used Linux and Ubuntu, but those are kind of the main reasons. Is that it's a really good stable release cycle, it's got good application coverage, good hardware coverage. It's a very popular OS, Linux OS, which means there's lots of people using it, lots of support, lots of people out there that will give you answers. And really that's my main kind of focus, and the reason I actually chose Ubuntu is that, and the stability obviously. But it's a really good version. Obviously, it's based on Debian, and it's probably one of the only two that I say I've used on the Debian actual branch. But yeah, I mean, it's it's a really good, solid Linux version. And I think it's if and I've done this in the past where I've actually put together systems for people who've never used a computer, and I've always installed Ubuntu because I feel that it's a really easy, simple OS version to use. One of the easier ones to use, I should say. And I mean, I find these days most Linux distributions are easy to use, but this is one of the easier ones in kind of my mindset anyway. So that's it, that's my reasoning behind using Ubuntu. Um, it's just runs lovely on this old laptop as well, so that's a bonus. So yeah, have you got any other different reasons? Do you use Ubuntu? Don't you use Ubuntu? Is there reasons why you wouldn't use Ubuntu? Why not leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on Ubuntu, especially if you're using on a slightly older laptop as well, or desktop, maybe even older than this version. Maybe going back to a much earlier chipset. Anyway, that's my reasons. Let me know your reasons. I look forward to hearing your comments.